Welcome back to the Tracy Take. Today, Ryan and I will be reviewing the Washington Commanders 2021 season and what went well and what didn't go well and some things that they need to improve on in the offseason to become Super Bowl champions in 2022. But before we get into that, Ryan and I would like to tell you about a little goal that we have of getting to 400 subscribers by Super Bowl weekend. Now, we are recording Monday night, and it looks like we might come up a little bit short, but any help will be greatly appreciated to help out with future goals. So if you have not already, subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment on this video, and share this with your Commander friends and fans. That sounds odd, but Ryan, let's get into it. So, very interesting year.
Can we start off with what didn't go well? Because I would like to throw rebranding into the mix.
Rebranding into the mix. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it was just kind of. I kind of honestly liked. I mean, we'll start out with this. I kind of liked Washington football team. Similar. I mean, like we see this with soccer clubs all throughout the U.S. I kind of just like Washington FT. Not that it really mattered to me either way, but Commanders, sure. I mean, I guess. So.
They spent so much. They spent, what, 2 seasons as the football team?
Yeah.
And then they come back with Commanders. I don't know.
It's better than the Guardians. So.
I think those are equally Fs.
No, Guardians is definitely an F. Commanders, I'd give it a C minus, maybe. It could be worse. I mean, they are representing DC, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. But on a real note, let's kick it off with the goods. I think run defense, that defensive line obviously is really good. Chase Young did get hurt this season, so hopefully he makes a full recovery and comes back to being the rookie that he was. Mm-hmm. And continuing to grow and improve and be a dominant force on that defensive front. And I think their offensive line was another good. They had the 6th ranked offensive line in total. They have definitely a few good pieces that I think a starting caliber quarterback would love to get behind. And then Terry McLaurin, I liked Dyami Brown's season. I know he wasn't totally super impactful, but I think that they are starting to accumulate a good repertoire of weapons with Terry McLaurin, J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson, Dyami Brown, Logan Thomas at tight end. I just think they are starting to accumulate good weapons. Mm-hmm. Do you have any other goods for them?
Well, yes, I would definitely say. I mean, shout out to, as you said, Jonathan Allen, another great season. They had 38 sacks on the year, but the whole defense was kind of overshadowed, as you said, by the pass defense being ranked 29th overall. I think that comes down to coaching because we have talked about this several times throughout the season, and it seems like these corners are just given 10, 15 yards of space, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Jack Del Rio was the defensive coordinator, and he just did not seem like whatever he was coaching was meshing well with the cornerbacks and the safeties. But like their defensive front is still one of the best in the league, in my opinion. And I think one of the reasons why maybe they were so low on the rushing yards is because their pass defense was so weak because I think they were just giving up so much cushion in the secondary. So correct me if I'm wrong. That was my interpretation on that. But I think their skill positions played well. I think depending on what they decide to do with Logan Thomas long term, I think Ricky Seals-Jones did really well during the time that Logan Thomas was hurt. Playing in 13 games, starting in 6, had 271 yards on 20 catches and 2 touchdowns, which was, I think, a solid. I think it's a good repertoire, and he's only 26 years old, and he's a big guy. Yeah. One thing, though, transitioning, we already kind of talked a little bit about the bad, and I didn't even see what was Dyami Brown's stats for this year.
I'm not sure. Let me look at that up really quick.
Because that was going to lead into one of my bads. I think one thing they need to address.
Oh, is there a wide receiver group?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it still needs to be addressed. However, I think that they are starting to accumulate guys that are like NFL caliber players. It's not Terry McLaurin and then no one else. Mm-hmm. Dyami Brown played in 15 games, started 6. He only had 12 receptions for 165 yards, average 13.8, and he had a long of 48.
Okay.
So,
all right.
He is much more of a deep threat guy. He's not going to acquire a lot of targets.
Yeah.
But I think his numbers are slightly misleading.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I say that because they're in an interesting spot in the draft, where, as we've talked about, there's not really too much top 10 receiver talent, which is an interesting, and not to be facetious, but they are 11th. And so they are in that spot to where it was Terry McLaurin as their number 1 receiver, and then J.D. McKissick, their backup running back, was their second leader in receiving yards. Adam Humphries was second amongst overall receivers with 383 yards off 41 catches. Didn't have any touchdowns. I think one of the things they need to address the secondary, but then with this first pick, though, depending on who's available, they could go receiver. They could go Chris Olave. They could go Garrett Wilson if they feel confident in Jamison Williams of being healthy and being available. I think he would fit really well across from Terry McLaurin, which is going to open things up for Dyami Brown, for Logan Thomas, Ricky Seals-Jones. And as we mentioned, that offensive line was something that they need to address in the offseason because their right guard and right tackle are hitting free agency. I think they should bring both of them back because both of them obviously were very adamant. What's the right word? We're
competent.
Competent? Yeah, you could say that. So I'm a Falcons fan. I don't know what that looks like when it comes to offensive line competency. But anyways, I think that they sign them back, and then if you go get that first-round talent, nothing against Dyami Brown, but him being picked in the 3rd round of last year, it's going to take a little bit more time to develop. But you go and get a Garrett Wilson, as I said, Chris Olave or Jameson Williams comes back healthy, and they want to take a flyer on him. I think that would be a great addition to that offense, because I also think there's going to be a lot of talk that this is going to be where the first quarterback's going to be taken off of, and I agree with that face. It's like, do you want to put, I guess, a first-round pick if you're the GM and Ron Rivera as well to on a quarterback that is not as of a generational talent as like last year. So hypothetically, let's say Trevor Lawrence doesn't pan out like how he did last year. That's kind of it's like, okay, everyone knew at the time of that pick, you have to pick Trevor Lawrence. You have to pick Trevor Lawrence there. But here, though, you don't have to pick Kenny Pickett or Sam Howell or Matt Carroll or Malik Willis. I said, So you don't have to take. There are plenty of other guys that can improve your offense right now. So that's where I'm curious to see where they go, and maybe bring in another quarterback. Maybe sign Mitch Trubisky and bring him in and have some quarterback competition in the offseason. Yeah,
they're kind of in a weird spot too for that exact reason. I think they need a quarterback, but especially after watching the Senior Bowl, Sam Howell, Kenny Pickett. Sam Howell did well, but even then, to me, Sam Howell was a back end of the first round guy already, and I think he kind of just solidified that that's what he was. To me, the only guy that really improved his stock was Malik Willis, and I think he went from top of the 2nd round to bottom half of the 1st round at best. And so I don't think that any quarterbacks are going to be taken in the top 15. And if we do, I think it would be at 15. Somebody would trade back or somebody would trade up in the middle and take somebody. And I don't see Washington doing that here. I think there's other guys like Ahmad Gardner, even Derek Stingley could possibly make it here, or Andrew Booth Jr., one of the top 3 corners. Or even, honestly, a guy like Nakobe Dean that at the linebacker position, to not replace Jamin Davis, obviously, because he was their first-round pick last year, but to give him a running mate, give him somebody to help solidify that middle level. And Nakobe Dean and Devin Lloyd are 2 guys that can do that at a really high level. So I just really think that there are so many other ways that they can go with this pick that'll have a higher impact than drafting a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, so. No, I'm with you there. It's going to be interesting to see what they could do. I said this with Denver, and I feel like Washington shouldn't, unless of the offer is too good to pass up. But I don't think they should trade back. I think they're unless the value is just amazing. But I don't think. Yeah. Well, I take that back. I guess if someone offers them and then they can get a couple extra picks out of it and go back a couple spots, because I do think that in that spot in these teens, especially with kind of all the little things that they need, any option really will be available, and like best player available will help in like the certain positions, because all those guys, all those positions that they're going to be looking for, there's going to be guys there that could help them out from day one.
Yeah, but so they don't. I don't think they need to draft in the trenches. Excuse me. I think their offensive line and defensive line, especially when
Chase Young comes back.
Yeah, Chase Young comes back. I think that they will be more than solid up front. And so I really think they're looking at skill position players almost solely, and I think they can then later rounds they can add depth wherever they need it. But guys like again Ahmad Gardner, even Roger McCreary, he played well at the Senior Bowl. However, it's just he only has 28.5-inch arms, which is a big concern because, I mean, a lot of these top corners like Kyer Elam, even like Kyler Gordon, who's a second-round corner, they all have 30-plus inch arms. And Roger McCreary coming in at 28.5 is just he is undersized. And athletically, he can play with anybody, but he might just be outreached in some jump ball scenarios or things. So it's definitely an interesting spot that they're in. And I'm really looking forward to see what they do. They, in free agency, to me, should just add good players. They do have some cap space. Allen Robinson is a guy that they could make a run for if they want to fill that wide receiver void through free agency. And then also you got to think Devante Adams. Granted, if he'll want to go to Washington is a question, but there are definitely some options for them in free agency as well. So, but other than that, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the Tracy Take. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Tyler and I are trying to hit 400 subscribers by the Super Bowl. We know that's not probably going to happen, but if you can help us reach that goal, we would be very much appreciative. But other than that, I think that's going to do it, and we will see you guys next time.